My name is Dr. Maya Patel, and this is the story of how being banished to a basement office became the best thing that ever happened to my career. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead as Robert Sterling, CEO of Sterling Pharmaceuticals, led me down the concrete stairs to the basement. His expensive Italian leather shoes echoed against the steps, each click a reminder of the corporate hierarchy I'd supposedly failed to climb. "You've been with us for 3 years now, Dr. Patel," he said, not bothering to hide his disdain. 3 years, and what do you have to show for it? No breakthrough drugs, no profitable patents, just endless research into what did you call it? Neuroplasticity-enhanced targeted drug delivery, I supplied quietly, clutching my laptop bag closer. He waved his hand dismissively. "Write your pet project. Well, the board has made it clear. Either produce results or clear out your desk. Consider this your final chance." We reached a heavy metal door at the end of a dimly lit hallway. Sterling produced a key and pushed it open, revealing a dusty room filled with old filing cabinets and forgotten equipment. A single desk sat in the corner, its surface covered in a layer of grime. "Enjoy your new office," Sterling smirked, dropping the key into my hand. "Low performers like you belong in the basement. Maybe the change of scenery will motivate you to actually contribute something valuable to this company." I surveyed the room, trying to hide my excitement. "Perfect, actually," I said, already mentally arranging my equipment. Sterling's smirk faltered slightly, clearly disappointed by my lack of distress. "Your budget has been cut by 80%. You have 6 months to produce something worthwhile or you're done. And don't expect any help from the main labs. They have real work to do." After he left, I closed the door and leaned against it, finally allowing myself to smile. If only Sterling knew what I'd been working on, what I'd discovered. The basement wasn't a punishment. It was exactly what I needed. You see, 3 years ago when I joined Sterling Pharmaceuticals fresh out of my postdoc at MIT, I had a theory. A revolutionary approach to drug delivery that could transform how we treat neurological disorders. But I quickly learned that Sterling Pharmaceuticals wasn't interested in revolution. They wanted safe, profitable iterations of existing drugs. The company's star researcher, Dr. James Morrison, specialized in making minor modifications to proven medications, just enough to extend patents and maintain market dominance. His office was on the top floor with floor-to-ceiling windows and a private bathroom. He was Sterling's golden boy, praised for his practical approach to pharmaceutical research. I spent my first year trying to play by their rules, working on assigned projects while developing my theory on the side. But every time I tried to present my research, I was shut down. "Too risky," they said. "No proven market," they argued. "Stick to what works," they insisted. What they didn't know was that I'd made a breakthrough 6 months ago. Late one night, working after hours in the main lab, I discovered a novel compound that could revolutionize how drugs cross the blood-brain barrier. The implications were staggering: more effective treatments for everything from Alzheimer's to brain tumors, with fewer side effects and lower doses. I documented everything meticulously but kept the most crucial details out of the official company records. Instead, I filed a private patent application through my late father's law firm. Dad might be gone, but his old partners still looked out for me. The patent office's preliminary response had arrived last week. My application was unique, innovative, and likely to be approved within months. But that wasn't all. Through my father's old connections, word had reached several major pharmaceutical companies. One of them, Genesis Biotech, Sterling's biggest competitor, had quietly reached out through intermediaries. Their message was clear. They were prepared to offer $50 million for the patent rights, plus a position as head of research and development. But they needed an answer soon. I started unpacking my equipment, setting up my laptop on the dusty desk. The basement's isolation was perfect. No prying eyes, no nosy colleagues, no surprise visits from Sterling or Morrison. I could finally complete my validation studies in peace. The next few weeks fell into a routine. I arrived early before most employees and left late. If anyone noticed my new schedule, they assumed I was desperately trying to save my job. Sterling's secretary, Linda, occasionally brought me coffee, her eyes filled with pity. "Don't let them break you, dear," she'd say, looking around the dreary basement office. "There are other companies, better opportunities." I thanked her for her kindness but said nothing about the real reason for my long hours. The basement had become my sanctuary, a place where I could work without interruption on the final stages of my research. The isolation also gave me time to think about Sterling Pharmaceuticals' culture, about how they treated researchers who didn't fit their narrow definition of success. I wasn't the first promising scientist they'd sidelined, and I wouldn't be the last. Dr. Sarah Chen had left 6 months ago, her groundbreaking research into autoimmune disorders dismissed as too experimental. Before her, Dr. Marcus Rodriguez had been pushed out for challenging the company's focus on profitable lifestyle drugs over needed medications for rare diseases. One evening, as I was reviewing my latest test results, I heard footsteps in the hallway. Dr. Morrison appeared in my doorway, his presence filling the small space with expensive cologne. "Why, he said, trying to sound concerned. "Robert mentioned he had to reassign your office. Such a shame. But you know how it is. Research is a competitive field. Not everyone is cut out for the pressures of corporate pharmaceutical development." I looked up from my laptop, noting the barely concealed satisfaction in his eyes. "Did you need something, James?" He stepped further into the room, glancing dismissively at my equipment. "Actually, I wanted to offer you a chance to salvage your career. I'm working on a modified version of our sleep aid drug. Nothing too ambitious, just enough changes to extend the patent. I could use a hand with the basic lab work. It would look good on your resume when you move on." The condescension in his voice was thick enough to cut with a scalpel. 3 years ago, his offer might have tempted me, a chance to prove myself, to climb the corporate ladder. Now it just confirmed everything I'd learned about Sterling Pharmaceuticals. "Thank you," I said, turning back to my laptop, "but I'm quite busy with my own research." He laughed, the sound echoing off the concrete walls. "Still chasing impossible dreams? Maya, take some friendly advice. Know your place. This isn't MIT or your fancy research lab. This is business." After he left, I sat in the silence of my basement office, thinking about his words. "Know your place." The phrase echoed in my mind, fueling my determination. In 3 days, my final validation studies would be complete. In 5 days, the patent office would publish their approval. In 7 days, Sterling Pharmaceuticals would learn exactly what they had missed. But as I reviewed the Genesis Biotech offer that night, a new idea began to form. Selling the patent was the safe choice, the profitable choice. But maybe there was another way, a way to change not just my future but the future of research at Sterling Pharmaceuticals. I picked up my phone and called my father's old law partner, Michael Chong. "Hiya," he answered warmly. "I was just about to call you. Genesis increased their offer to $60 million. They're eager to close the deal." I took a deep breath. "Michael, I need your advice. What would it take to leverage this patent into something bigger than a sale? Something that could change the whole company?" There was a pause on the line, then a chuckle. "Now you're thinking like your father. Tell me what you have in mind." The plan we developed over the next hour was bold, maybe even crazy. But as I looked around my basement office at the dusty filing cabinets and flickering lights, I knew it was the right choice. Sterling and Morrison had taught me to know my place. Soon they would learn what that place really was. 1 week later, I sat in my basement office, watching the digital clock on my laptop tick toward 9 a.m. Upstairs, the quarterly board meeting would be starting, with Sterling and Morrison presenting their vision for the company's future. My phone buzzed, a text from Michael Chong. "Patent approval just posted. You're officially a very wealthy woman, Dr. Patel. Last chance to take the Genesis offer." I smiled, typing back, "Proceed as planned." At exactly 9:15 a.m., Michael Chong walked into Sterling Pharmaceuticals' lobby, accompanied by 2 representatives from Genesis Biotech and a reporter from the Wall Street Journal. Linda's eyes widened as she recognized the visitors. "Mr. Sterling is in a board meeting," she stammered. "He can't be disturbed." "Perfect," Michael smiled. "That's exactly where we need to be." Meanwhile, I was gathering my research notes and loading a presentation onto my laptop. 3 years of work, countless late nights, and 6 months of secret validation studies, all leading to this moment. The basement door opened and Sarah Chen poked her head in. "They're here," she said with a grin. Dr. Sarah Chen, who had supposedly left Sterling 6 months ago, had actually been working with me, validating my research at an independent lab. Her resignation had been carefully planned cover for our collaboration. I picked up my laptop and followed her upstairs. We could hear raised voices from the boardroom. "This is a private meeting," Sterling was saying as we approached. "You can't just barge in here." Actually, Michael's voice carried clearly. As a representative of a major shareholder, I have every right to be here. Dr. Morrison, please don't leave, you'll want to hear this. We entered the boardroom to find a scene of carefully orchestrated chaos. Sterling was half standing at the head of the table, his face flushed. Morrison had frozen halfway to the door. The board members were watching with expressions ranging from confusion to interest. Dr. Patel, Sterling snapped, what is the meaning of this? I set up my laptop, connecting it to the room's display system. I believe you gave me 6 months to produce something worthwhile, Mr. Sterling. I'm here to present my results. This is ridiculous, Morrison interjected. The board doesn't have time for your basement experiments. Michael Chong stepped forward. The board might be very interested in patent number use 2025-01578993, just approved this morning. Dr. Patel, would you like to explain what you've developed? I pulled up my presentation and for the next 20 minutes, I walked the board through my discovery. The novel drug delivery system that could revolutionize neurological treatment. The successful validation studies. The projected market value. Conservative estimates put the market potential at $2 billion annually, I concluded. Genesis Biotech has already offered $60 million for the patent rights. The boardroom erupted in chaos. Sterling's face had turned from red to white. Morrison was frantically flipping through the patent documents Michael had distributed. This is impossible, Sterling sputtered. Any research you conducted belongs to Sterling Pharmaceuticals. Actually, Michael interjected smoothly, Dr. Patel developed this independently using her own resources. The basement office you banished her to? Perfect for independent research as it wasn't connected to company servers or resources. You effectively created the perfect environment for her to develop this patent without company involvement. We have documented evidence, Saracen added, stepping forward, of every instance where Sterling Pharmaceuticals rejected or dismissed this research line. You didn't want it, remember? Too risky, no proven market. The Genesis Biotech representatives chose this moment to speak up. We're prepared to increase our offer to $75 million, their CEO announced. Full rights, immediate transfer. I held up my hand. Thank you, but I have a counter-proposal. I turned to the board. Sterling Pharmaceuticals has brilliant researchers who are being stifled by outdated thinking and risk-averse management. I propose a restructuring. The next hour was intense. I presented my vision. A new research division independently funded by my patent, focused on innovative drug development. Saracen would return to head one team. Dr. Rodriguez would be invited back to resume his rare disease research. The choice is simple, I told the board. Continue with business as usual, watching your market share decline as companies like Genesis innovate past you, or embrace change. My patent can either belong to your biggest competitor, or it can fund Sterling's transformation. The board vote was unanimous. Sterling and Morrison were out, effective immediately. I was appointed as the new Chief Research Officer with a seat on the board. Saracen would head the new Innovative Research Division. As security escorted Sterling and Morrison from the building, I returned to my basement office one last time. The dusty room that had been meant as a punishment had become the birthplace of my greatest achievement. I took a photo to commemorate the moment. Linda appeared in the doorway, beaming. Your new office is ready, Dr. Patel. Top floor, corner suite. I smiled, picking up my laptop. Thank you, Linda. But let's keep this office available. Sometimes the best breakthroughs happen in unexpected places. The transformation of Sterling Pharmaceuticals didn't happen overnight, but it was dramatic. Within a year, our new research division had 3 promising drugs in development. Dr. Rodriguez's rare disease program made its first breakthrough. Young researchers who had been afraid to propose innovative ideas were suddenly flourishing. 1 year later, I sat in my corner office looking out over the city. Saracen had just presented preliminary results from her autoimmune research to enthusiastic board approval. Dr. Rodriguez's rare disease treatment was entering clinical trials. My phone buzzed, a message from Michael Chong. Genesis Biotech stock down 15% after Sterling announced new drug pipeline. Not regretting turning down that $75 million. I smiled, watching researchers stream into the building below. young scientists eager to work at what had become known as the most innovative pharmaceutical company in the industry. Not for a second, I replied. The basement office still exists. I had it renovated, better lighting, new equipment, comfortable furniture, but kept the essential character. It's now called the Innovation Lab, a place where researchers can work on their crazy ideas without pressure or interference. There's a plaque on the door that reads, "Never underestimate where brilliance can flourish." Below it in smaller text, "Sometimes the best view isn't from the top floor." Sterling and Morrison? Last I heard, they were trying to start a generic drug company. Morrison occasionally gives interviews criticizing Sterling Pharmaceuticals' reckless new direction. Meanwhile, our stock price has tripled. I keep the key to the basement office on my desk as a reminder. Not of revenge or vindication, though those were certainly sweet, but of a more important lesson. True innovation doesn't care about corner offices or corporate hierarchies. It can happen anywhere, even in a dusty basement under flickering fluorescent lights. Sometimes, when I'm stuck on a particularly challenging problem, I take my laptop down to the old office. The concrete walls and humming pipes have a way of clearing the mind, of stripping away pretense and letting pure creativity flow. And sometimes, late at night, I hear multiple keyboards clicking away in the Innovation Lab, young researchers, working on their own impossible dreams, following the path I unknowingly blazed. They say success is the best revenge. But I've learned it's more than that. Success is about transformation, not just of circumstances or status, but of entire systems. Sterling's attempt to diminish me by sending me to the basement had backfired spectacularly, but it had also created something greater than personal vindication. It had created a revolution in how pharmaceutical research could be conducted, how innovation could be fostered, and how a company could transform itself from a cautious follower into a bold leader. The basement office that was meant to be my career's tomb became its launching pad. More importantly, it became a symbol of what's possible when you refuse to know your place, and instead create your own. As for me, I still attend every research presentation, no matter how impossible the idea might seem. After all, you never know which basement project might change the world next.